So we are going to take a look ahead now to Milano-Cortina 2026, getting set for the Winter Olympics. So we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers here who are going to give us a preview of what to expect from an editorial perspective and some of the technology rollouts and some of the trials and tests that we're going to see in Milan-Cortina as well. With us at the front, we have just next to me, Sotiris, Salamouris, Olympic Broadcasting Services CTO. And next to Sotiris is Andy Rayner. Andy is a peer CTO. Next to Andy is Espen Olsen Langfeldt, NRK Sports Editor. And just on the end is Andrew Ferrans. Andrew is Vice President of Sports Planning and Delivery at Warner Brothers Discovery. So, Sotiris, I've calculated 214 days since Paris and 330 days until before Milan. So we're kind of at that midway point between the games. You've got some more numbers to show us as well, which are going to help to put into context the scale of Paris and what we can expect next year as well.
Actually, the introduction with the previous session where we went back to the coverage of the opening ceremony and sailing brought me some goosebumps, from what was happening at that time. But anyway, let's remember a bit about Paris, but also talk a bit about OBS. I think that most of you know about OBS, but I think an introduction with a video will probably be. Okay, so yes, because we are going to talk about, of course, the coming Olympics and what is really about the Olympics is all these things that we were talked before, but quite important is to always consider the volume, the size, and the complexity that comes together with that. So that's some of the figures about, of course, what happened almost a year ago with Paris. All these figures are demonstrating the volume. The volume starts with an important number, which is the actual final volume of content produced, which is close to 11,000 hours. That has happened just within 2 weeks of competition time. Just to give you an idea, if you just add up just the competition time available for the sports, this is around 3,500 hours. From this point all the way to 11,000 hours is additional content that, of course, is produced by OBS to supplement the live coverage. The figures by themselves tell the story about the complexity that comes from volume. Of course, the production is happening in fully UHD HDR. This is our native standard coverage, and all the other formats are produced from that, which means that we end up producing on the same time up to 82 concurrent UHD feeds. And for that to happen, of course, there is a big amount of live galleries that are employed. I mean, we're more than 72, 73 galleries that have to be also operated at the same time. The network that is established to make this work, of course, is quite big. Connects all the 40+ venues that are linked to the ABC, and from the ABC to 7 points of presence around the world. You see here just the internet connectivity that is being used to stream all this content worldwide, which are around 100 gigabits, but this is just the internet. If you just carry the whole international connectivity that is set up for the games, this is more than 4.5 terabits that connects the IBC with the rest of the world. Of course, again, talking about volume, there is a big number of people that are engaged with that. During games time, we are employing more than 8,300 people that are engaged in the actual live production. And it's all about how you manage this in a very, very, of course, condensed time that is available. That's where technology plays a big role, because it's not only about technology being the enabler of the content creation, also technology is the enabler about being efficient and being in a position to deliver all this in a very short time available where you are deploying in the whole city. These are kind of indication of the challenges that you are facing during the summer games, but the winter games, which is actually the discussion point for today, is not really too much behind. I mean, from an organizational perspective, you could say that the winter games are about 1/3 of the size of the summer games, but this tells part of the story. It depends on exactly what you are setting up to do. When it comes to the broadcast, you may see here from the numbers that it is close to half the type of complexity that we have and type of volume that we have is roughly half of what we have to face for the Summer Games. And of course, a big contributor in terms of the overall, let's say, effort there has to do also with the problem about the locations and the weather and the instability that comes inherent to that, which of course makes the total coverage and the production even more, if you like, difficult to organize and follow. One additional very big problem that, of course, is related with the games in Milano-Cortina will be the locations. These games will be very much distributed. They are happening pretty much on the whole of the north part of Italy. The venues are fantastic, they're excellent, and some of them are, of course, very strong in terms of legacy for the Winter Games. They have been doing events there for a long time. But still, getting them together in one event, as it is with the Olympics, it's always a major challenge. Essentially, for these games, you have to organize them in a way that they are running almost independently between themselves when it comes to the venues because of the sheer distances. The IPC will be in Milano, of course, and there are several venues, mostly the ones that are, ice venues that will be placed there. Although there is also a major ice venue in Cortina, which is the curling one. And everything else is deployed up in the mountains in distances that in most of them require traveling times around close to 4 hours. That has, of course, impacted a lot of the way that we are being planning around that, because this means that we need very, very strong remote operations to be able to deal with this kind of distances and complexity. So that's on a nutshell and a very, very fast, if you like, description about, first of all, what is, of course, OBS, the host podcast of the games. I suppose most of you have heard about that. The typical issues that we related with the games, which is about size, complexity, and very high density when it comes to deployment because of the time available for the games. And then, of course, the additional complexity has to do with the Winter Games, which has to do with, of course, the element of the weather, and also the element of the distances, especially in the case of Milano-Cortina. Just to get a bit about the context, what to expect next year.
Fantastic, thank you. So I was interested to pick up on some of those logistical challenges, really, of being spread over such a large area. I think it's 22,000 square kilometres that the games will be spread over. You spoke about an increased reliance on a remote way of working. Can you just give us a sense of what that means in a bit more detail?
Yes, certainly. First of all, as part of the plan for the games, there is always a big attention when it comes to the network that interconnects the venues to the IBC, and let's say all of them between them. This is always a very high capacity network. Most of the times we are relying on, let's say, existing dark fibers to do that. We're replacing ourselves our own terminal equipment that give us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we are deploying our systems and a huge capacity. As I said, the outgoing network, the network that connects the ABC to the world, is about 4.5 terabits in the Summer Games. It will be slightly smaller in the games of course, of winter. But the contribution network, the one that connects the venues to the IPC, is also of equal size. So we're talking about a huge capacity that is established, that is, of course, used in order to be able to establish any type of remote kind of content creation that it is helpful for our multilateral production, which is the OBS production, but also support the unilateral requirements of the rights holders. So the typical connectivity between the ABC and the venues, it is on the multiples of 100 gigs. Okay. That allows us to set up the operations in a way that we can really be very, very efficient when it comes to how we're moving content from one location to the other. And case by case, we can also have, if you like to say, split kind of operations. I mean, for example, there is a lot of overlap of operations when it comes to the two alpine venues, one happening in Bormio, the other one happening in close to Cortina. One is for men, the other is for women. But in some sense, for most of the broadcasters, they are functioning as a kind of a single event, because they want to go from one, let's say, production to the other. So in that case, we are supporting them with the establishment of these very special interconnectivity solutions that they need to move content from one location to the other.
Great, thank you. And on the subject of broadcasters and rights holders, Espen, can you give us an idea of what does this mean for you as a broadcaster, the size, the scale, the complexity?
First of all, I'm very pleased and proud to be a part of the Olympic family again. It's been a long time since 2012 and in London. I think the distance will force us to work more remote, and the home base will be more important. We have to prioritize our staff. We will also do more common shares off tube, especially in Alpine, as you said. We have to prioritize our staff, and we will see what's most important for us and the Norwegian public. I can assure you, Max, that biathlon is one of the things that we will prioritize, and cross-country, of course. So we have to be very smart about where we are on the spot. And I think also that for us as a public broadcaster, this will be kind of breakthrough for our own TV player, because the linear channel will only be used for the highlights and the most important events. But we are looking really forward to use all the elements of the player, as Discovery did in Paris, which was impressive.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that brings us neatly onto you, Andrew. Give us an idea of what some of your aims will be for Milano-Cortina, and also any lessons that you might be taking over from Paris, I guess specifically related to your streaming proposition as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invite to today as well. And you know, without what OBS do, what we do, like any other broadcaster, is nowhere near as satisfactory. If you start with a product as good as OBS and we tell the story around that, then our aim for 2026 is to build on the foundation of 2024 in Paris. For us, 2024 was an incredibly successful event. On the Max streaming platform alone, there was 7 billion minutes of streamed coverage. That's 6 times more than Tokyo, and when you consider that most people couldn't go to Tokyo, there should have been an impact there for people to watch it. So 6 times greater impact on the Max streaming platform. So in terms of where we see the difficulties, we're very much aligned. You know, it's 5 hours traveling backwards and forwards. Therefore, we have to look along the same lines as reducing the number of people on site. From Paris, we did everything from home base. We were a totally remote operation. We had no control rooms anywhere in Paris that related to the broadcast. So we will continue that. We'll once again we'll produce our continuous content delivery feeds. We'll wrap around that with the other pieces to make individual programs for each of our market territories.
Sorry, just lost my lost the next question. But something that you've already touched on, Sotiris. Espen, that you mentioned when you were talking about how you guys will approach the games. It's about being part of the Olympics family again. Sotiris, can you give us an idea of what that agreement, so that agreement between the EBU, or with the EBU and with Warner Brothers Discovery as well, does that have any impact on how you will approach these games and how you'll be creating and sharing content as well?
First of all, it's a very nice news that we have EBU back as a rights holder. I mean, it has been some time, and guys, you are more than welcome to be back. I mean, EBU has been a very strong, of course, partner of the Olympics for many, many games. I remember back in 2004, 2006, all the way up to 2014, they were together with us, and of course, all the members were extremely engaged with the Olympics. And so it's really great news that we have in that setup, essentially the setup that also that you are now sharing, if you like, similar rights between you and Discovery Warner, which means that, of course, it's good news also for the Olympics, because it gives even a more wider, if you like, forum for the Olympic content to be distributed, especially in the context of the Winter Games. As we know very well, it's in addition, a very European, if you like, centric event, because first of all it happens in Europe, but also there is so much interest by the European broadcasters when it comes to winter sports. So from our side, we are really happy to partner again with EBU and the members directly. So Espen, welcome back. What does it mean to us? I mean, we are of course used to interface with individually many different rights holding organizations. Okay, even if let's say we're for the previous games we were dealing with or we had as our partner Warner Discovery as the owner of the rights for Europe. Essentially, we were also supporting many of the existing Europe EBU members because they were sub-licensees of Discovery. So we have already established, and there for a long time, a direct relationship with each one of them. But of course, now with the direct rights, we expect this to be even more, if you like, strong and more, expecting in terms of the type of service that they will require.
Yeah, and on that point about relationships, Espen, you guys will be working with OBS on the ski jumping as well, so helping to produce coverage of that event. We have got, we might be able to get to the clip now, or here we go. Yeah. So just talk us through what we're seeing here.
Yes, what we're seeing here, we are using a digitally stabilized camera on an FPV drone, equipped with digital set. It's exactly the same drone as used, and a camera as used in Formula 1. And here we have a place camera to capture athletes everywhere, in the escalators and things like that. And the reason why we were doing this was because we are struggling with the numbers regarding ski jumping, and nowadays ski jumping is struggling with everything, I think, especially today. So we did this because we before the World Championship in Trondheim, which the clips are from, we had a meeting with a young audience, and they saw events from ski jumping. Point number one, it was very boring. Point number two, they thought that it was same athlete who jumped each time. Right. Okay, so we had it was what are we going to do about this? So this is a kind of an example that we have to get close to the athletes, to be where they are, and to be where they are, and they have to give us permission to be present with them almost everywhere. Ironically, we asked FIS if you could be to the test room for the jumpsuits, which they did not allow, which is we'll see today if they will allow it today. So because the numbers from the World Championship in Trondheim was quite encouraging, and I think so it was on behalf of TV2 as well, and for the Nordic countries, but it's declining all over, and we have to think seriously how we produce this stuff for the young audience. So this will be a challenge for covering the Winter Olympics as well, but I can assure that we are working on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. I just wanted to return to the point about remote production, and to touch on as well the role of the IBC as well. So, Sotiris, can you give us an idea of what the IBC will look like in Milan, and how you expect those rights holders to kind of engage with that, and what their presence there will be like?
That's a very good question. You rightly said, and that's what is our expectation, that the great majority of, especially the European broadcasters, will operate from their own home bases. Okay, it makes sense. Technology now allows that. It's technology also that we are supporting very strongly ourselves in terms of connectivity, in terms of different kind of formats of the multilateral content that is made available. So it is very easy to find the content to your doorstep without really paying an arm's leg. We see this from the total explosion of cloud delivery or SRT delivery that now suddenly becomes if you like, the prime way of getting content, the Olympic content, to your doorstep and so on and so on. So it does make sense to operate remotely, especially on the type of production that the rights holder would like to do. And then, of course, there is the question, okay, then what's the purpose of the ABC, which is a hub in the whole city? And for those of you that have ever visited, especially the Olympic IBC, it's a monster. It's a huge, huge building. I mean, in the case of the Paris game, while it has reduced in size from its peak back in Rio 2016, where it ended up being an area of 55,000 square meters, which was the actual clean broadcast built up inside. The space, the actual, if you like, cell that carries the space it was around 100,000 square meters. So we're talking about a really huge space that was necessary for that. So from 55,000 square meters, we ended up in Paris at 40,000 square meters. So a significant reduction over time that was allowed by technology, but still, of course, a huge installation. Okay. In Milan, of course, we're talking about a winter IBC, so that will be in the area of 25,000 square meters, still a very, very big setup. And this, again, this is clean broadcast space. Has nothing to do about the envelope. I mean, this is housed in a big exhibition center in the middle of Milano, a great facility, by the way, which is, again, a space of more than 100,000 square meters in total. Okay. And we occupy almost the whole, if you like, area for the needs of the games. So there is reduction. Reduction is supported by the evolution of technology. Most of you now, you certainly would like to do your operations home. However, this does not mean that there is no need for an IBC at all. The reality is that although you have, I mean, the rights holders have all these options to have all the signals, all the multilateral content, these 11,000 hours of material that it is produced by OBS on your doorstep, very easy, both live and, of course, recorded. There are products out there that we are having from our own technical setup. Apart from the live, of course, there is a platform that we call Content Plus that allows you to get all the recorded content, again, remotely through a web system and so on. So besides that, although this is available, there are still almost to 20,000 broadcasters that are coming, let's say, in the Olympics in summer, and to expect to have around 12,000 that will join in the next Winter Games. So what happens is that there is a transition. I mean, broadcasters, from a point that they had to be in the whole city for technical reasons, because there is no other way that they could technically operate, to receive the signals, to set up the systems that could only operate in, let's call it, baseband mode in the whole city. That was the case several years ago. Now, they can switch. They don't need to be there for technical purposes, but they will still and like to be there for content creation purposes, okay, for creative purposes. So you see the shift. I mean, they're setting more of venue type of personnel. I mean, commentators that they still like to be present, sports pundits, people that are doing studio work. I mean, the ABC, big part of the ABC is used for studio purposes. So you can build your studio inside the whole city. And the ABC still serves as a home for all these thousands of people. So, and a home that can be, now it's much more flexible and versatile from before. It's not really a place just for MCRs by the different RHBs, rights holders. The OBS MCR is doing this purpose for all of them. But they still need to have a space where they can operate centrally in the whole city. And that's what is, let's say, more and more the ABC transforming to. But it still remains, because of the number of the rights holders, it still remains a big facility. And I think that will remain in the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you. And Andy, can you just give us an idea of what some of the technology is that's underpinning this shift that Sotiris has just explained to us? What's kind of aiding that greater way of remote working?
Yeah, I think the trend towards remote working is probably the biggest change of the last 5 years in the way we do stuff in general in live events production. I think some of that is just an increase in the performance of the connectivity. I think there is a gradual performance improvement in latency reduction. There is only one latency that we should have to live with. That's the speed of light in fiber, 200 kilometers a millisecond. Everything else should be able to be optimized by the vendors to provide the optimum performance. I think the rise in the ability of cloud to actually produce up to tier 1 capable content production. Again, we're still on the journey there, and we're still doing lots of trials, etc. But we're moving towards various things like asynchronous, faster than real-time production capabilities of software operating and doing those real-time production tools in the cloud. But fundamentally, it's the optimization of the connectivity, the compression, all of the stuff to make it viable long distance. And I think we're on a journey there. I think the industry hasn't got as far as it can do, but we've now really enabled that, what I call location agnostic production. It is truly a reality now.
Fantastic, thank you. Andrew, I wanted to just come to you now, if we can. Something that was quite present in Paris from Warner Brothers Discovery's perspective was the involvement of athletes and getting athletes into the studios all the time and really kind of making them a key part of a lot of the broadcasts and the presentations that you guys did. Can you give us an idea of what that will look like in Milan-Cortina as well?
You're absolutely right about the athlete interaction. The first time, I don't know if everyone's seen some of our footage from the rooftop in Paris, but the first time an athlete walked out onto the roof and they sort of arrived, and we took them to the set, and it was well, congratulations, well done, you've done a great job. By the second time we brought an athlete to the roof, Scott had said, this changes, we have to do this in a different way. And we told the story of the athlete as they came up in what I got into trouble many times for calling Willy Wonka's Great Glass Elevator, in the middle of the hotel in Paris, and the doors opened, and not only did they receive the adoration back at the venue when they got their medal, we treated them as a gold, silver, or a bronze medalist. So we'll build on that from Paris. That's part of now how we see the storytelling of the athlete. OBS will tell the story during the day of the event. That's the nature of any good host broadcaster. It's up to us as unilateral broadcasters to take that next stage and use the money that we've saved by the technology that allowing us not to travel as many technical people. We still have all our presentation on site for all our markets where required. We don't hold back. We'll continue to send people out into the field to the event. We'll use the 100 days to Milano-Cortina to unveil all our plans for what we will look to be WBD House. We'll start by 100 days out looking at where our road into Milan is with our documentaries, our non-live coverage. So I think although the games are smaller games in terms of number of events, number of hours, we'll continue to still drive that forward as the home of Olympics in Europe. Every moment of the games continually live. So from Paris, all we see is a stepping stone to the next one, and all the way through to the end of this current rights agreement in Brisbane, each one of these being a stepping stone. And I think to Espen's point about how the EBU and the tri-party agreement between IOC, EBU and Warner Brothers, that's a fantastic story for the Olympic Games, insofar as now we've got broad coverage back into the free-to-air markets, and behind the subscription service, we can deliver that continuous commentary session. We can deliver that continuous content session. We can marketize for each of our individual markets. We can put the additional value into the sport that's been delivered during the day. So all I can see is using each year to build.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got about 2 minutes left, and I'm aware that there will be a bus waiting to take us to the Holmenkollen Ski Festival. So to wrap up, I just want to move along the panel, so you'll have about 30 seconds each. We want a prediction from each of you about what you expect the legacy to be from Milan-Cortina 26. Who would like to go first?
I hope they will come back with great stories. And I think to make great stories, you have to get the production team and the editorial team to work hand in hand. I'm surprised there's not so much from the editorial side here, but I think the audience is demanding that the pictures and the story goes hand in hand. What's the story? What is the story about the event? It's not only about who's winning or who's losing. It's something more than that. We talked about emotions earlier today. So what we are actually working in NRK is about storytelling and including the production team regarding this, how to best tell a story during each event.
Fantastic, thank you. Andrew?
The greatest Olympic event ever.
No pressure then.
No pressure on Milan. But I think if you don't aspire each year to be better than the one before, then you can never set in the great games that people continually refer back to. Everybody refers back to a different games that is their highlighted games, and that's what it needs to be. It needs to be Milan's opportunity to shine and move forward without. And also, it's the fact it's the first post-pandemic games in the winter arena. It's effectively 8 years since we were in Pyeongchang with a real, fully developed and organised winter games.
Great, thank you. Andy?
I think from a technology evolution point of view, the thing that excites me most is getting further down that converged journey of the real-time production flow with all of the AI tools and the post tools. Now we're moving more into a compute environment. Those can actually become convergent, and I think that proves a more efficient and more flexible pipeline for production. I think we will see that these games and in the future ones.
Great, Sotiris.
Talking about legacy, I think that it's interesting to point the following. We talked about 11,000 hours of content produced by OBS in the 2 weeks of the games, both live and not live. That content is helping the production of 500,000, so 500,000 of hours, which is the accumulation of all the content customized and delivered by the rights holders. So 10,000 or 11,000 hours becomes the seed for 500,000 of hours, that it is the content that has been pushed to the world audience during last summer. For 2 weeks, the Paris Games was the global event in a world that we all know how complex and how unstable it is and so on. So it totally occupied the global attention, imagination, inspiration. That was what Paris was last summer. In conjunction, to give you an idea how much, let's say, the content creation has changed over time, back in Athens 2004, so 20 plus years ago, the actual content that was pushed by broadcasters to the global audience was 40,000 hours. So we're talking about 10 times more over this period of 20 years. That's a legacy, I think, that is very, very important for the host city and for the host country. If you just try to figure out what kind of effort it takes for a country to project globally what it is, because that's the Olympics, to the 5+ billion people that are in the world, that are in an age of watch and consume content, I don't think that there is any other opportunity like that, to occupy the global audience for 2 weeks with this amount of content that it is there, telling the story about, of course, the athletes. That's the most important story of all, but also talking about the city and the country and the culture and so on. I think overall, that's really the big legacy of the Olympic Games, besides, of course, the stadia or the changes that you do in the city, etc., etc. And I think that's something that hopefully the Olympic Games will continue to deliver.
That was more than 30 seconds, but a fantastic way of rounding things up. So, Sotiris, thank you very much. Please join me in thanking the panel. Thank you, Sotiris, Andy, Espen, and Andrew.